I'm leaving now, and when I come back, you better be gone. Pack your things and get out. I'm filing for divorce. Monica's voice cracked as she delivered the words that had been building inside her for months, each syllable carrying the weight of 7 years of marriage that had slowly poisoned itself. I'm leaving now. And when I come back, you better be gone. Stephen stood frozen in their Portland kitchen, coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips, as if the familiar morning routine could somehow shield him from the hurricane his wife had become. The stack of credit card statements scattered across their granite counter told the story he'd been hiding: $15,000 in debt from his online gambling, money that should have gone toward their daughter's college fund. Pack your things and get out, I'm filing for divorce. Monica's hands shook as she grabbed her car keys, the metal cutting into her palm with sharp reality. She'd practiced these words in her head during sleepless nights, but speaking them aloud felt like stepping off a cliff. Stephen's face cycled through shock, denial, and desperate calculation. He'd been caught before: smaller amounts, promises to stop, emotional manipulation that had worked every previous time. But Monica's expression held something new, something final that made his usual arsenal of excuses die in his throat. The discovery had come accidentally when Monica was organizing their tax documents, finding statements Stephen thought he'd hidden well enough. 3 years of systematic lies, money siphoned from their joint accounts to feed an addiction he'd sworn he'd conquered after their first separation 2 years ago. Monica felt the familiar pull of guilt as Stephen's eyes filled with tears that looked genuine. He'd perfected the art of remorse, knew exactly how to make her feel cruel for enforcing consequences. But this time, she forced herself to remember their daughter Emma asking why they couldn't afford the school trip, while Stephen had lost $200 the same night playing internet games. She walked toward the door, each step requiring conscious effort against years of conditioning to prioritize Stephen's feelings over her own sanity. 3 hours later, Monica sat in her divorce attorney's office, Nathan Clark's calm professionalism providing an anchor in the emotional storm she'd unleashed. The retainer fee, $3,000, would drain their savings account, but Monica had moved beyond caring about Stephen's reaction to financial decisions made without his input. Nathan outlined the process with surgical precision: asset division, custody arrangements, the timeline for dissolution of a marriage that had died slowly over years of broken promises. Monica signed papers with hands that had stopped shaking, feeling lighter with each document that formalized her decision to stop enabling Stephen's destruction of their family. Her phone buzzed constantly with Stephen's messages, a predictable progression from anger to bargaining to desperate promises of change. Monica read them with detached interest, recognizing patterns she'd fallen for too many times before. He swore he'd enter treatment, claimed the gambling was just stress relief, promised to rebuild their trust through concrete actions rather than empty words. But Monica remembered the last time Stephen had made similar promises, how convincing his remorse had seemed, how quickly he'd returned to his addiction once he felt secure in her forgiveness. The cycle had become their marriage's defining rhythm: discovery, confrontation, tears, promises, temporary improvement, gradual return to destructive behavior. When Monica returned home that evening, she found Stephen's car gone, and most of his belongings missing from their bedroom closet. The credit card statements remained on the kitchen counter, along with a handwritten note that began with, "You're making a huge mistake," and evolved into accusations about Monica's inability to support him through his struggles. Monica read the note twice, waiting for the familiar guilt to overwhelm her resolve. Instead, she felt only relief that Stephen had revealed his true character one final time, removing any remaining doubt about her decision. He'd chosen to blame her for his gambling addiction rather than take responsibility for the financial devastation he'd caused their family. 6 weeks later, Monica discovered Stephen's final betrayal while organizing paperwork for their asset division. Hidden behind their insurance documents, she found loan applications he'd submitted using her forged signature, attempts to secure additional credit that had been denied only because their debt-to-income ratio had already reached dangerous levels. The forgery represented a criminal act that could have destroyed Monica's credit and financial future. Stephen had been willing to commit fraud to fund his gambling, using her identity as collateral for his addiction without any consideration of the consequences for her or their daughter. Monica forwarded the documents to Nathan with a sense of vindication that felt uncomfortable but necessary. Steven's attempts to contact her had intensified recently, including messages claiming she was destroying their family over a small financial disagreement and appeals for reconciliation that painted him as the victim of her unreasonable expectations. The forged loan applications revealed the depth of Steven's deception and his willingness to sacrifice Monica's financial security for his gambling habit. She realized that staying married to him would have meant constantly monitoring their accounts, never feeling secure in their financial future, and teaching their daughter that love meant tolerating lies and betrayal. Emma, now staying with Monica in their family home, had initially been devastated by her parents' separation. But as weeks passed without the tension and arguments that had defined their household, she began sleeping better and showing more interest in school activities. The stability of knowing their budget wouldn't be secretly drained for gambling gave both Monica and Emma a security they hadn't felt in years. Steven's response to the divorce papers had been predictably dramatic: threats of fighting for custody, claims that Monica was alienating him from his daughter, promises that he would expose her vindictive behavior to everyone they knew. But when confronted with evidence of the forged loan applications, his bravado had collapsed into silence. Monica's ultimatum had saved her family from years of additional financial damage and emotional manipulation. Sometimes the most loving thing you could do was refuse to enable someone's self-destruction, even when that person was the father of your child and the man you'd once promised to love forever.